Hello. Howdy, haunters. There it is. You were waiting for it, weren't you?
I was.
What cringy thing is Renee going to say tonight? Anyway, welcome to...
And cringy
it was. Very, very. Try saying that to people on the streets. Howdy, haunters. Probably punch you in the face or something. Welcome to AGE Live, aka Ghost Stories with the Guides. This is number 14. I am Renee, and this is...
Dusty.
Dusty! If you're new, welcome.
You did it! I'm proud of you.
What did I do?
You did the... Oh, see, you did the... You got the right side.
I almost did it the wrong way. I thought really hard. It took me a minute. If you're new... stream, we talked about red eyes and finger snacks. If you don't know what that means, you can go ahead and look at that video after we go off the air tonight. So tonight we face, of course, sticks, stones, and the baby in the basement. Stay tuned for that. We'll be talking more about what all that means. Just a reminder, we are open and we are doing ghost tours. I know that I think it's our 8:20 tonight, has a full tour of 9 people. So please jump on to StAugustineGhostTours.net and get your spot if you're looking for a ghost tour. Hey, Roger.
Yep. Hey, Roger. That's www.
Hi, Grandma. Hi, Addie. Yes, www. No 3. Not okay, words. Not 3.
Yeah.
No, just StAugustineGhostTours.net. Spots are limited to 9 people plus 1 tour guide, so we're following our CDC guidelines and whatnot. Let's move on to the haunted happenings, shall we? Let's do it.
Sure.
So, Jennifer M. says, when I first got my license, I went to visit a friend of mine at night. He lives on a long, dark road. I know, scandalous, right? A long, dark road with a few houses, and wouldn't you know, I don't like how she says it like that. Wouldn't you know, wouldn't you know it? Oh, there you go. Wouldn't you know it? My truck decided to crap out. Cell phones weren't a thing yet, so there was no way to get a hold of him. I had to just hop out and pop the hood open and start blindly looking for a fix-it button. Then I hear a young man's voice that said, "You need to get back in your truck and lock the door." I was startled, and I turned around to see a young man standing behind me, looking worried. I mean, really worried. So I don't ask any questions, and I hop in my truck. That would be me. I'd be like, nope, don't. I don't even turn around.
Good for you.
Like, jump in my car,
okay.
curl in a ball, start crying.
Yes, sir. You got it.
Whatever you say. And I really tried to get the truck to start again. And thankfully it starts, but that's when I hear the screams in the woods. They seem to be on all sides, and my truck was physically shaking. The man took off in the woods and got an old photo album. Oh, wait. No, I skipped. Sorry. He didn't get...
The man ran off into the woods and came back with a photo album. And then he showed me pictures of his vacation.
I was terrified. The hostage and made me look at his trip to Disney World. Oh, man. No, the man finally, after the shaking of the truck happened, the man took off into the woods, and I gunned the gas and finally got to my friend's house. When I told him what happened, he chuckled.
How did you skip that much?
Know.
You skipped
Listen,
so much.
I never said that I had good eyesight. When I told him what happened, her friend, he got an old photo album and asked me if the man in the woods was the guy in the photo. And it was my friend's mom's baby brother that was murdered when he was 18, and his truck broke down at the place that mine had approximately broken down, and somebody had robbed him and killed him. I was shooketh. Hey, y'all. Hi, George. Hi, Anthony. That's my Uncle T.
Did
y'all.
She actually say shooketh?
She said shooketh. Yes, she was shooketh, which I can only relate to.
Yeah.
So I think that this was a spirit that was just like reliving what happened to him, and maybe they didn't find his killer. Jennifer didn't go into any of that detail, so I really don't know what happened with the brother. Maybe maybe there was something that spirit wanted to tell her. Maybe he was just nervous that it would happen to her and was like, get out of here, get back in your car. Yeah. Kenneth M. said, my first apartment in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, I was broke and I was eating vitamins pretty much for dinner, playing music at night in my band, and working days. I would come home, and one night I was in the living room. It looked over into the bedroom, and this tall guy was looking at me. He looked like a shadow man. He wore a long black coat and a black hat, and we locked eyes for what seemed like forever.
Hat Man?
Hat Man. Yeah, it sounds like Hat Man. Yeah, it's a good reference. Throwback to like, what was that, 6 episodes ago now? Hey.
It was like my first one. I don't know. It was my first one.
Oh yeah, it was way more than that then. We're on number 14, right? So anyway,
Yeah.
The next thing I know, I'm on my knees trying to breathe and my heart was racing. I was terrified. Then it was gone. That was the second time something truly haunting had happened to me. It seemed like it was something out of a different dimension.
Probably.
Now, Stephen R. says, my most haunted experience happened at the May Stringer house, which Jim has a photo to show you what that looks like. And Stephen R. says, my first time I was at the May Stringer house, I got poked on my back. And in the attic, I got hissed at. Kind of sounded like a cat hiss, but there was no other animals in the house. Unsettling feeling for sure. One of the many times I was touched, I was recording on my phone, and I said, did somebody touch me? And immediately after that, my flashlight was sitting on the couch and turned on. It's a nice house. It's very like colonial looking, if you ask me. Very patriotic. And Dusty, do you have any input?
Yes.
Any input on our haunted happenings?
No.
Okay,
no,
well,
I do
tell the good people what our whole sticks and stones portion is about. What does that mean, sticks and stones? What are we talking about?
I don't know, like breaking my bones?
Oh, well, okay, but tell the good people what the story's about. They're dying of anticipation.
Ha ha. The Walking Dead. So if you're dying, you'll just get back up anyway. It's fine. Well, I have put together a little bit of a story about some of the Walking Dead. So, yes. So, I have a little bit of a Scandinavian folklore that really isn't what you think of with zombies. It's kind of a ghoul, but then I am going to get into zombies. We're going to talk about zombies, but not at first. We're going to do some things, some Walking Dead bit.
Okay.
Please, throughout this entire live stream, just forgive my pronunciation of anything.
Oh, you're fine.
Anyway.
Before we get into it, let's say hello to Danilo. I think I saw Victor. Hi, Victor. Uncle T. I don't know if I can go in your old house. Those people, they're scary. I don't know if I want to go in there with those spirits. Freaky. But also, I don't know if the people that live there now would let me. That's I know who they are. I'm gonna ask them.
I'll get back to you on that. Do you mind if I stay the night in your house?
Do you mind if I stay in your basement? Baby in the basement. That's me crying.
Listen,
big baby.
You know what? We'll make this rule number 3. Just forget that you have a basement. Okay. Rule number 3 in hauntings and horrors: just forget you have a basement. Forget you have an attic. Call it a day.
True. All right. Go ahead and tell them about your Scandinavian folklore and whatnot.
Yeah. So there is a Scandinavian folklore, a Viking folklore too. And it's okay. So they're called Yaganyers.
Oh.
And I guess, and it's like a malicious revived ghost, revived from the dead. So, and this word itself actually, if you go into like the etymology of it, I'm going to just brief it real quick, but the prefix is related to again, and Gengir, it comes from the word meaning foot or walker. So like to walk again or walking again, so kind of that word there. Well, anyway, so they are revived from death to haunt and kind of punish the living. They are completely corporeal though. So yeah, completely corporeal. So they're not really ghosts. If you think about it, and if you watch our live stream as much as we do, I guess, because we're in it, but it's more like the vampires that we talked about, the Eastern European vampires.
Yeah.
More like them than they are ghosts. Yeah. So they are completely corporeal. And it's kind of like it's people that have died before their time. So victims of murder or suicide or some other kind of accident. Other than murder and suicide, I'm not really sure. I guess, if an accidental murder, maybe, I don't know, died on accident. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, someone that died before their time. So they're revenge seeking. They have the goal Rule number one. Yes, I love that movie. They have the goal of punishing or harming those who wronged them in life. So they usually hunt and attack at night while the victim is sleeping. So while the victim is sleeping, they'll sneak in and they will pinch. They'll pinch them. Little pinch.
It's like a little poisonous fingernail, right?
Dead man's pinch. Yeah, poisonous fingernail.
Yeah. Like because when you pinch with your fingernails, right? Poisonous fingernail. Hi, Aunt Jen. Anyway, continue with your game.
I don't like the way you pinch.
Well, don't mess with me, and I won't have to give you the pinch of death, matey. I don't know why I'm a pirate all of a sudden. Anyway.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So we'll call it dead man's pinch of death. Well, anyway, they'll pinch you, and then they'll run. They'll flee the scene. And when the victim wakes up, the pinch spot is blue. It's like a bruise, you know. And it's supposed to be a sign of upcoming misfortune or death, sickness or death. And the flesh will eventually begin to decay and rot away. Like it's necrotic almost. So it'll decay and rot away until the infection hits their heart and they die.
Poisonous fingernail.
Anyway, like with a drop of poison underneath the nail. Is that what you're talking about? And you just get them?
Just give them a little bit of poison.
Yeah. Well, anyway, there are some practices that were put into place to keep, their dead from walking, because that was a fear. So the person inside the coffin they'll have like a certain runic inscription to keep, the dead from waking up, getting up, and walking around.
So what's the
a runic inscription inside, and then also coffins.
What would your runic inscription be? Make one up. If I died right now and you didn't want me to turn into a Yganger and come back and pinch your soul out of your body, what would my runic be?
Hey,
I'm coming back
dead.
For you. Oh, hey,
stay dead.
Stay there, please.
Don't get back up.
Don't pinch me, please. Continue.
Leave me alone. Yeah, but like in fancy writing,
Oh, that'd be sweet. Yeah. Like calligraphy. All right.
Yeah, calligraphy. We'll just use calligraphy. I'm not about. I don't know.
Nice little monogram.
Scandinavian runes. Like, what do you?
I don't know.
Happy Leif Erikson Day.
Ding
ding ding. Insert SpongeBob reference here. Anyway. Anyways. Hi, Mom.
Hello, Missy.
So yeah. So coffins will be carried over the church wall instead of through the gate, which sounds really hard. So they'll carry them over the wall instead of through the gate, and then proceed to carry the coffin 3 times around the church. Yes. So, so then any shovel that was used to bury the person, any shovel that was used to dig the hole, needs to stay there and be undisturbed. You have to leave it there, undisturbed. And then there's a var, which is like a pile of rocks or twigs, will be left at the place that the person died, at the death site. Yeah, not the burial site, the death site. And if someone passed by the var, they would have to toss another rock or stone on top. Otherwise, it was considered, to bring misfortune if you didn't, but it was good luck if you did.
You get the poison fingernail.
All right.
That was a really bad pirate accent. I don't know why they're pirates anyway.
Poison finger. They were Vikings, so if you wanted to,
yeah,
give that a shot. No. Okay. No. Well, no. Yeah, that was the Yganger. We're gonna move from Scandinavia actually to the ancient Greeks. Even the ancient Greeks archaeologists have found graves that had skeletons that were pinned down by rocks.
Oh, okay.
To keep their dead from walking. So apparently the Walking Dead is cross-cultural,
it's a real issue.
The real big issue, how
nobody
people just
wants
need to stay dead, I don't know. Well, anyway, so now we're moving to Haiti. This is like zombies now. When you think zombie, well, pinch of death, yeah. When you think zombie, given today's, colloquial zombie, the contemporary zombie, we'll get to that, but it's not the same. But we're going to go to Haiti now. So it first appeared in Haiti around the 17th century. and when it was still kind of ruled by France, I think. And it was
Okay.
West African slaves were brought over to work on the sugarcane plantations. And it was brutal. It was terrible conditions. And, it was, anyway, it was terrible conditions, extremely brutal, that half of the slaves were dead within a few years. And then, they didn't really care. They just went and captured more and imported them and just kept the cycle going. So, it was real bad. Now, it was kind of when you think of today's colloquial zombie, it's not, they're like a slave to flesh, as in the way they have to eat it to survive. These would have been a slave to the flesh of their own, their own selves. They were trapped inside their bodies. It's kind of like that. They were forever, it was a kind of like a projection of the slaves' relentless misery and subjugation here. And it was also used to kind of discourage suicide, because of course death would have been the release to, for them to get off into the afterlife, and it would have been, they could be free. And if you committed suicide, though, that you weren't able to be released into this afterlife, that you would have been perpetually trapped inside your own body and condemned to these plantations for eternity.
That's
so
terrible.
It's kind of like a never-ending slavery almost, and it was a fear of this, this slavery, and they were haunted by it even after the revolution. The Haitian Revolution of 1804. It was haunting, the endless slavery and the possible reinstitution of it kind of teetered there for a little while. So it was rough. But yes, after the revolution, it actually kind of evolved and it began to intertwine and kind of fold itself into voodoo. So we're gonna skip on over to our voodoo here, for a little bit.
Bring up my man. Is my man Papa Legba in this?
No. But we'll give him a little nod anyway. Hey, Papa Legba.
All right. Hey,
Ooh,
Papa Legba.
Let's not.
Yeah. No, you're right.
But anyway,
I feel bad saying that now.
Let's not do that. But yeah. But it was, this is kind of where the belief that zombies were reanimated corpses kind of came into play. We're getting a little towards our evolution of the zombie here. So it was, believed that they were corpses reanimated by shamans or priests or bokor, which is like a voodoo witch or sorcerer, basically. Cool. And they're the ones that are associated with zombieism. Yeah. Zombieism. Yeah. So they are, if you ever look up Haitian and zombies, you'll probably find the bokor. I did look up some of, we'll get into the voodoo here, some of how it works, I guess. So like I said, they are like a voodoo sorcerer, I guess, and they kind of are said to serve Loa, good and evil. So they're not really like good, bad. They just kind of, do.
Yeah, Dusty, you were going to talk
that's what I was
something, right?
Yeah, it's the pufferfish. It's the tetrodotoxin and the pufferfish is actually, I was going to mention that. So the bokor have a powder. It's a powder they use to create and control their zombies, and it's made. Okay, so it's like a mixture of herbs. Say herbs, animal remains, human remains, and another common one is the pufferfish. And the pufferfish does have a deadly neurotoxin called tetrodotoxin.
Tetrodotoxin.
Yeah. Tetrodotoxin.
Say that 3 times fast. Nope.
Tetrodotoxin. Oh.
Ooh!
Anyway, that was anyway, it's even if I'm saying it right to begin with. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Boom. But yeah. Anyway, so of course, indigestion.
We can't say indigestion though.
Pepto-Bismol. Ingestion or injection of the powder, of course, would result in the effects. So when it takes effects, the victim becomes immobile. Their heartbeat becomes very faint. They have an extreme difficulty of breathing. So breathing becomes really hard, and they'll appear to be dead. They'll appear to be dead. So they're kind of comatose. However, they're fully aware of their surroundings, completely aware of what's happening. They just can't do anything about it. So they'll be declared dead. They'll be buried soon after. So they'll be declared dead. And then once they are buried, the Bokor will come and dig them up. Dig them up, probably within like 8 hours to keep them from dying of asphyxiation in the grave. So they'll.
Yes, they did.
So I know I forgot to write that one down and mention, but thank you, Roger. When we get to the pop culture section, because every folk tale has something to do with pop culture.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
But yeah, so they'll dig them up and then they'll perform this ancient rite where they kind of separate their soul into two bits, and then they steal the bit that is closely associated with the individual. So they basically steal part of their soul, put it into a clay jar, wrap the clay jar in like a piece of their clothing, the victim's clothing or other possession, and they'll hide it so only they know where it is. And then they will administer a hallucinogenic mixture, I guess, that kind of revives them but keeps them in a submissive, confused state, so then they can essentially have control over the zombie, so they'll have no memory, they can't speak, they just are forced to work. Also, they'll work, they'll do labor, they'll do any nefarious task this priest wants them to do. That's what they're used for. So, zombie again is being forced to work, being trapped in their own body. Now, once the Bokor dies, the zombies will be released. They'll be released. So I guess they'll wake up. They can then return to their homes or, their burial site to have a proper death, to die. So there are stories of people who have supposedly died and then reappeared years later to their families. There's actually a really famous one, Clairvius Narcissium.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good try.
Yeah. We'll call him Clairvius because that's easier to pronounce.
Clairvius.
Anyway, he's a documented zombie.
Okay.
So in 1962, we went to the hospital, spitting up blood, feverish, like super achy. He had aches, and the doctors didn't really know what was happening. They couldn't diagnose him. He got worse. And then 3 days later, he got worse. He kept getting worse. Yeah, so he kept getting worse, and then 3 days later, he was declared dead. He died, and they actually had like death certificate. They signed a death certificate. They kept his body in the freezer for like the 24 hours, and then buried him. And then it says 18 years later, his sister Angelina Narcissus.
Yep, just Angelina.
Angelina was approached by a man claiming to be Clairvius 18 years later, claiming to be Clairvius. And the only reason she believed him is because he gave her a childhood nickname, and he told her things that like only the family would know. So she was like, "Whoa, this is my brother." And then
it didn't look like him. Did it look like him?
It's been 18 years. I don't know. She was probably
I mean.
Okay, so it's been 18 years, and this guy was supposedly dead. You literally watched him be put into the ground, and then after like coughing up a bunch of blood and stuff, and now 18 years later, somebody who, probably looks like him is like, "Hey, I'm your brother. What are you gonna think?"
I would be confused, but I would also just be like scared. I would run away.
Yeah, you look like him. There we go.
And run. It'd be like, ah!
Push them and run.
Yeah.
Good to know. All right. So note to self: if I ever die and come back to life, you're not the first person I'm going to approach.
No,
anyway,
I'll push you.
I'll push you and run.
I'd be afraid.
But yeah, so he actually. Oh my gosh! A way to tie that in. That's good. But yeah. So anyway, he did recall. He remembered being lowered into his grave. He remembered being buried. He remembered feeling the dirt being thrown onto his coffin. And actually, apparently he has a scar on his right cheek from one of the nails that was driven into the coffin, got him on his cheek. That would be terrible to have like a nail driven through your cheek and not be able to do anything about it. Just sit there. Sorry. Well, anyway, so yeah, apparently that night a voodoo priest dug him up, raised him back, took him to beat him, with like a whip or something, took him to a sugar plantation with other zombies and forced them to work on that sugar plantation for like 18 years with other zombies.
Wow.
The voodoo priest eventually died, and he was able, they were able to go back to their family. Around the same time, apparently 2 other women in other villages appeared and had claimed to be zombies, you know?
Cool.
So there are like cases of zombies. How interesting is that? Now, then you do have, of course, the complete turn into our colloquial zombies. So we do have, in pop culture, and actually there was a movie, other than, Roger mentioned,
The Serpent in the Rainbow.
Yeah, the Rainbow. I couldn't remember the name of it. Yeah, that one. But there's also another one, and this is probably also it's really close to the Haitian version of zombie here. It's called White Zombie. Bela Lugosi, in 1932, Bela Lugosi film, yeah, called White Zombie, and it is kind of, yeah. So anyway, it's about basically the zombie master, right? And there's a man who wanted to marry this woman, and she didn't want to marry him, so he was mad, and he went to the zombie master of Haiti to see if this guy could make this woman a mindless zombie so he could marry her, and she couldn't fight him, and then, it's kind of like that. So again, like a mindless being, not like a flesh-eating, zombie. And when you think about the flesh-eating zombie, your mind probably goes to George A. Romero, right?
Yep.
Of course, because you have the Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead, and then from now we have The Walking Dead and like iZombie and all this stuff. They're just flesh-eating beings, We also then some weird things. People like the zombies. They like zombie apocalypses, But
yeah, they do a full-on zombie walk in New Jersey.
I know, those are cool though.
Awesome.
We should do that anyway. But I was a zombie for Halloween a couple years ago. Remember, that was fun. I did a whole ghost tour at the Rotting Zombie. And then you have things like the Miami Zombie. Anybody remembers the Miami Zombie, right? Which is this guy that was high on bath salts, having a real bad trip, and then his excited delirium, and ate like 75% of a guy's face. This poor homeless man ate like 75%. I imagine it looked a little bit like this. This is my little zombie doodle. Yeah, but
he's like, please stop.
Instead of this intricate graveyard that I drew.
Did the guy die?
The Arthur Causeway. No, he did not. He made a full recovery. He's not very pretty.
What was he he's just sitting there like, man, I'm hungry. Is it like one of those like cartoons where you like think somebody looks like a cheeseburger and like then he started eating his face, or like
I don't know. This guy was having some kind of bad trip, and it also apparently took. They had to shoot this guy several times before he went down. Like,
God,
he was in some kind of but
he was having a hard day.
And this is like back in 2012. So he was having a hard day. What about the guy whose face he ate?
Yeah, him too.
That guy's still alive. Like I think he's still alive. He lived.
Let's address the feet popping up on the beaches in British Columbia. It is a real issue. We need to advocate for British Columbia. There have been at least 14 feet wearing running shoes since 2007 that have popped up.
Well, clearly they didn't run fast enough.
No. It's never the same foot. It's only one foot. Is it zombieism? Maybe. They also think that it's
never the same foot. People don't have. What are you expecting?
I don't know.
2 right feet with the same shoes?
I don't know. I was expecting 2 different feet. I don't know. A left and a right would have been nice. A pair, if you will.
Would have been nice. Excuse me, can I have this in the left?
Ah, man, I wish I got the other shoe. Yeah. It's like, wow, I only killed 49. Should have killed 50. Maybe it's that guy.
50. I should have killed. I just want to kill 50. Right? Keep the salt in the bath. Yeah. So actually, I have their names. I wrote their names down. This guy is still alive. You can actually look up. You can look up pictures of his face. Yeah. When it happened, I don't recommend it. He's like missing eyes now. He's blind, and but his name was Ronald Popo.
Popo.
Yeah.
Such a
And
fun
then
last
Rudy
name.
Eugene, I think, is the guy that ate his face.
Chommed on his face. Yeah.
Yeah. So people
All
were,
right.
this is like 2012. People thought that we were going to have some zombie apocalypse, and I think they were okay with it.
Yeah, some people
This
are
is the
really
future now.
They're like ready.
I
Dusty, any
know.
final words on our sticks and stones, our Walking Dead? You are mean. Poor Ron. poor Popo. He didn't know what was happening to Popo. Anyway, any last
Popo.
words on your Walking Dead spiel? Anything you need to add?
No, I think that's it.
Great. We're going to move on to our second story of the night. This is about a haunted hotel. Dusty, are you ready?
Baby in the basement?
The baby in the basement, honey. Here we go.
Baby in the basement.
This is about the Hotel Monte Vista. This is located just a block away from Route 66 in Flagstaff, Arizona. I stayed here. I have some great personal experiences. This place is awesome. The Hotel
I would
Monte
love
Vista,
to stay at a haunted hotel with you because I feel like I wouldn't get any sleep.
You wouldn't.
Because you wouldn't get any sleep.
My roommates that I went on this trip with hated me. They were like, "Can you just?"
I remember
stop?
you wouldn't even sit in our building alone. Like I had to.
No, I wouldn't. I would call my mom. And my mom lived in Jersey at the time. She wasn't going to save me from a ghost, but whatever. Anyway, so the Hotel Monte Vista looks like an average hotel from the outside, but on the inside, it haunts the guests that stay the night. So, in the late 1920s, tourism was booming in the Arizona and Flagstaff area, Sedona area too. And the people of Flagstaff decided that they needed a nice hotel for first-class citizens to stay at. It was so supposed to be sort of like what Henry Flagler wanted the Ponce de Leon Hotel to be like in St. Augustine, Florida, except Flagstaff's was going to be a bit smaller. It's not like a ginormous hotel. And I think it was going to be a bit more affordable for like the 1920s. So the hotels surrounding the area, it should be noted, were classless, sort of worn down. A lot of them were abandoned. And the high-class residents of Flagstaff were all about this. The upper-class citizens donated to the city to have the luxury hotel built. Fundraising started in April of 1926. It stopped in June of 1926. You know why? Because they met their quota. They met their quota. Zane Grey, who was the author of The Lone Star Ranger and the writers of The Purple Sag, donated approximately $200,000, which in today's money is about something like...
Yeah, that much right there.
Yeah, there you go. Now, the hotel opens on New Year's Day in 1927 as the Community Hotel. However, Community Hotel is not really a luxury name, and people are like, let's just have a contest so they'll have a fun little go about, name the hotel something fancy schmancy, right? And so a 12-year-old boy wins the contest because he submits the name Monte Vista, meaning mountain view. Considering
so this hotel was named by a 12-year-old.
It sure was. Monte Vista,
right.
Mountain View. It's because Arizona is surrounded by mountains.
Lakes.
Now,
yeah.
Yes. Monte Vista would later go on to experience many tragic events, and we're going to get into those in just a second. Instead of bringing people in for its beauty and luxury, it brought people in for its ghost sightings. Now, lots of Western movies were shot in the Sedona and Flagstaff area. I read that there was actually a scene from Forrest Gump that featured the Flagstaff area in it, and also Casablanca that featured a shot from the Flagstaff area, and I think it has the hotel in it, actually. The hotel brought in many famous actors because of all of this happening, right? Just to name a couple of celebrities that have stayed at the lovely Hotel Monte Vista, you have Bob Hope. He stayed in room 203, 204. He stayed twice. He liked it so much. Bing Crosby stayed in room 213. Michael J. Fox stayed in room 216. John Wayne stayed in room 210. There's more. I'll mention them later. But allegedly, John Wayne had a paranormal experience there. We'll talk about that in a few. And I have another celebrity paranormal experience that I'll mention as well. It should be mentioned that the hotel highly encourages guests to investigate the hauntings of the building, since it has such a rich history. Okay. They have such a rich history. I lost my place because I was looking at what was on the screen. And so pretty much they just encourage you to investigate. There's lots of old buildings around, so there's like this whole like haunted vibe going on in the city. The employees there are free to share their paranormal experiences with you, and in fact, I went on this trip in 2013 to Flagstaff, right? Just in Arizona and Nevada in general. We went for like 2 weeks in 2013, and so when we were in the Flagstaff area, we stayed at the Monte Vista hotel, and when we came in, they greeted us, like the whole staff greeted us. We took up like half of their hotel, and I remember like all the employees there, they were excited that we were taking the ghost tour that they offered, because like all of their staff had something paranormal to report on. So it was just a really interesting thing. They weren't like how like Flagler College like tells, you know, like the RAs and stuff not to talk about the hauntings. They very much encourage it. So first off, in room 220, there's a story of a bizarre meat man. Now, apparently he was a tenant that he stayed for an elongated period of time and worked as a butcher. So he worked as a butcher in the downtown Flagstaff area in about the 1980s, early 1980s. But in the later 1980s, he was still a tenant there, and the surrounding tenants started to complain about a stench coming from the meat man's room. So the staff entered room 220, and they thought that it was simply because he had been hanging meat from the chandeliers. He would like make beef jerky in his room and stuff, and they had already told him to like stop, but he didn't listen because the man enjoyed some beef jerky. Can't help himself. But when they entered, they found the butcher lying in his bed, dead. He had been there for 3 days.
Don't you have to like smoke it?
I don't know, actually. I'm sure
he was
that
just doing this in his hotel room.
Listen, he had nowhere else to say. Where do you want him to do it? Give him a break. He's the meat man.
All right.
So people in 220 to this very day claim that the television will turn on and off by itself. Even the channels will switch from different things. Like you'll be watching the news and they'll go to a different channel, right? The staff thought it was just because the TVs were old and they replaced the new TVs not too long ago. However, still in that room, they have problems with the television, even after they brought the brand new TVs. Room 305. I stayed in this room on a school trip. Again, that's that same school trip in 2013. It is claimed to be the most haunted room in the entire hotel. John
How
Bon
ironic
Jovi.
you got this room.
Okay, so it's funny that you say that. I'm dying to tell you this. So they actually like made us watch clips from like ghost shows that the rooms had been on, and my room had been on Unsolved Mysteries. And there's like a rocking chair in the room. We're going to get into that in a minute. And I remember my choir teacher being like, guess who gets to stay in the most haunted room? It's Renee. And I was like a scared little junior. Like I didn't know what was going on at all. I was like, why me? And like two other girls, I like roomed with seniors. It was a really freaky experience. So John Bon Jovi stayed in this room, and he has a paranormal experience that we're going to talk about in a minute. Similar to the meat man, years ago, there was an elderly tenant who sat in a rocking chair by the window, the rocking chair that was in the room with us. And she used to just watch people. Like people watched all day long as they walked by on the sidewalk. She was super friendly. She would say hello to staff. It was cheaper for her to stay at the hotel and pay per week than it was to just, I guess, stay in her own house, because she had the cleaning crew that would come in and, you know, take care of her room. She could order room service if she wanted. So she had no family to care for her or check on her or anything like that. Well, one morning the staff came in to clean, and they found her sitting in her normal rocking chair staring at the windows. Her eyes were open, but she had no response. She wasn't saying hello to the cleaning crew as they came in or anything like that. And eventually they went over and tapped her on the shoulder and found that she was ice cold and stiff as a board. She had died. And so, to this very day, staff claims to see an elderly woman sitting by the chair, rocking quietly. The room is icy cold, even in the hot, dry summers, and an unexplainable knocking can be both heard from the closet and the bathroom. No one knows why she's sticking around. No one knows, like, why her ghost is the most active, but she's the most active spirit in the hotel. So when I took the tour, I was scared, like I said. And so I asked the front desk manager, I said, tell me more about my room. What should I be expecting when I stay tonight? This was after the ghost tour. Now,
That's probably what
she
you
said
shouldn't
to
have
me,
done.
I should not have done this because what she told me, like, I didn't sleep all night. She told me that John Bon Jovi, had complained to her personally about the shower that would turn on in room 305. And it would turn on and off as he was laying in bed trying to go to sleep. And so they were like, yes, Mr. John Bon Jovi, we'll go and check out your room immediately. We'll take care of that shower
Me too.
mess. And so maintenance went up and looked at the shower, but they confirmed that nothing was wrong with it. It was perfectly fine. Well, the next morning, Bon Jovi comes to the front desk again, telling the manager that he was freaked out because while he was in the shower, like getting prepared, I guess, for either bed that night. This is like the night before, not the morning, right? So he's taking a shower the night before.
While he was in the shower getting a shower, I think would have been sufficient. While he was taking a shower.
I got nervous. And so I want to make sure I'm clear. He kept hearing a knock on his bathroom door while he's in the shower showering, right?
The shower, yeah.
He thought it was the staff because, you know, he had made the complaint about the shower and whatnot. So he got out quickly, he wrapped himself up in a towel, and he opened the door. As he opened the door, he felt a gust of icy cold air, and he saw the rocking chair by the window was moving by itself. So he was super spooked out. He did not enjoy that experience, but he actually kind of was into the whole paranormal experience because he ended up staying like 3 or 4 more times when he came through the Arizona area. So he's a big fan of the Hotel Monte Vista. Now, take a look at this video Jim's going to pull up. This is what staff have to say about room 305. They call it
and as Matt shares, one of the stars has a haunting tale linked to room 305.
Room 305, the John Bon Jovi room, and this is where we get the most reports of supernatural activity. Lots of times people, when they stay in this room or come in this room, they get a cold feeling, and it's linked to one of our stories, the rocking chair. Lots of people mysteriously see the chair rocking after no one's been sitting in it, and reportedly some have even seen an old woman sitting in the chair. I guess it used to be a long-term tenant we had back a long time ago who passed away when she was living in the room, and people have seen her image rocking in the chair.
There are about 10 different reported.
I didn't see the rocking chair move while I was there. I do want to mention, though, that we didn't spend a whole lot of time in the hotel room because we were a traveling choir. We had like several concerts that we had to attend and practices. So there wasn't a whole lot of time to like enjoy the Hotel Monte Vista or like even, you know, hang out in the room and investigate and stuff. And I was too much of a baby to do it, honestly. I was only like 16. Give me a break. Yeah, right. So apparently just next door in room 307.
So you're just the scared baby that was rooming with these seniors, and they were probably done with you. Like,
they were so done with me. You have no idea. I'll get to that in a minute. Just next door in room 306, there's a haunting of 2 women that died in a very tragic way. You see, in the 1940s in the Flagstaff area, they had a red light district and a big issue with ladies of the night. And so many rich men would pick up these young ladies and they would spend a night at the Hotel Monte Vista. Well, one night a very rich man brings 2 ladies with him to the hotel and they check into room 306 together. Well, one thing leads to another, and then the people of Flagstaff see 2 women being thrown out from the 3rd story window onto the concrete. They both end up dying. So in room 306, people have complained that they just simply could not sleep because they felt like they were being watched. Men complained about having a young woman wake them up just by standing at the side of their bed. Other men have complained about having an extreme case of sleep paralysis while staying in this room. They say that they're being choked by a woman wearing a green slip. So when we were on this trip, there was like a group of boys that we talked to that were staying in room 306 just next to us. And they would like call us on their cell phone. They'd be like, "Oh, we're so scared. Are you guys scared?" And they would like run by and like knock on our door and like try to scare us and stuff. But I remember the next morning, like when we were checking out and whatnot, we had asked them, we're like, "Did anything paranormal happen to you?" And they were like, no, nothing paranormal happened, but we couldn't sleep. Like none of us could sleep. We just like stayed up all night. We don't know what was wrong. It was just like a bad vibe or something. We couldn't go to bed. And I didn't know that until I was doing research on the story that that's like a common thing that happens. Like men can't sleep in that room. So kind of spooky. Now, the hallways are not even safe at the Monte Vista. You see, in fact, that John Wayne thing I was telling you about, John Wayne had a creepy experience. Well, he claimed that he had a bellboy knock on his door in the early hours of the morning and that this was like a phantom and that he was a very nice ghost, But this phantom bellboy is seen all over the hotel. He kind of messes with the staff. The staff claim that he is super friendly, but he just gets confused. Like he doesn't know when he's helping too much. Have you ever met a person like that? And so one lady that while we were staying there, they're telling this story of the phantom bellboy. She said that like she'll be working her side of the building, and that when she would like turn around, she'd see somebody in like service uniform, like bellboy uniform pretty much, and she would see them go into somebody's room thinking he was dropping off towels or something or tidying up the room. And when she would go and check and see who it was, because she knew nobody else was supposed to be up there, she would find there was nobody in the room, no towels had been delivered. It was just like set her off course. She'd be like, now I have to get extra towels, I have to put it in my log. Big mess, right? They say that he has an older uniform, he has shiny brass buttons, and occasionally they'll see him knocking on people's doors just shouting room service. So the night that I stayed at the hotel, I was about 16. I was terrified after hearing stories about the place, right? And I just sat up on my phone until 3:30 a.m. I had heard walking down the hallways. So while we were doing the ghost tour, we noticed that there was like, I want to say 6 to 10 people sitting in the lounge at the bar. So I just figured it was them coming up from the bar, and maybe a couple of them were staying in the same hallway as us. So I wasn't alarmed by the walking in the hallway. What I was alarmed by was after a couple of minutes, I was like shifty-eyed looking around the room. My eyes were like looking at the rocking chair, which was just so perfectly illuminated by the moonlight coming in through the window. Now, I could have shut the curtains. I just couldn't bear to do it, because what if the rocking chair moved? Well, it was in the dark. It would have been so much worse, so I couldn't do it. I had to, like, watch it all night long. And eventually my eye, like, focuses on the door, and I notice there is 2 pairs of feet standing directly in front of the door. So I almost had a heart attack. I start shaking my roommate.
Sorry, I'm going to stop you. Like you saw the shadows of feet on the outside of the door, or there was just 2 random feet not attached to anything? Okay.
It's the feet of British Columbia. No. No, it was shadows of 2 feet. And I woke my roommate up, and I convinced her to go and open the door with me. Now, this was like a really big deal, because when you're on a school field trip, they tape your door shut with painter's tape to ensure that you're not like going around, doing whatever in the city after, curfew and whatnot. So breaking that tape would have meant we were going to get in a lot of trouble, and there was no way to like reseal the tape when we went back in. So eventually I convinced her, we opened up the door, and I had seen the feet like shuffle away quickly as we went to open the door. We opened the door quickly, we looked down the hallways, there's nobody there. We then had to go and like explain the whole story to our chaperones, and we got in like big trouble, but they got over it. It was fine. They shouldn't have taken a bunch of young kids on a ghost tour without their mommies and daddies. Just kidding, I was 16. So the hotel does pride themselves in backing their ghost stories with death certificates in the history of the place to show tourists and whatnot that these people actually exist. So all these stories that I've gone over, they have death certificates for who these people are when they stayed there, just like their life story. It's pretty interesting, and they'll be happy to show you. They have copies of it and whatnot. So the most disturbing and one haunting that they cannot explain, that they don't have any death certificates, they don't have any bit of history to prove that this is a real thing, but they have had staff members quit because of it, many staff members. So it's called the baby in the basement. Now, this one is typically reported by maintenance and laundry personnel. It sounds very, very real, apparently. It's as if a baby is wailing for its mother. It happens randomly, and it usually sends staff members running up the stairs for their lives. They quit because they simply don't want to go down there. So these staff members, they can only put up with so much of trying to do their job, just trying to put sheets in the washer and then having a scary baby screaming in their ear. So any of these hauntings making you want to drink a little bit? No? Yeah? Maybe? Well, sorry, because the lounge is haunted too at the hotel. There's no safe space at this hotel. Many patrons late at night have claimed to see a couple dancing in the lounge in period attire. When they ask the staff how late the lounge stays, what period? I don't know. It wasn't specified. It just said period attire. I'm thinking they mean just like Victorian looking or Edwardian looking, very like high collared and whatnot. More definitely not more modern like you would see today. Like they're not
Yeah,
from
it was
like
1920s, right?
yeah, probably there too, 1920s, sure. So they'll ask how late the lounge stays open. They'll tell them that the lounge is closed, even though they just saw somebody dancing in there. In the 1970s, 3 men robbed a nearby bank, and the bank guard shot them down, killing one of the guys instantly on the spot. The other 2 men covered themselves up with jackets, dragged themselves over to the hotel lounge, and they sat on the bar stools and drank until they bled out from their wounds. So, yeah, I don't know why they didn't go to. Well, I guess they didn't go to the hospital because they would have been arrested. But
So they robbed a bank, yeah.
yeah, they
So-
robbed the bank. I don't know. I don't think anybody. I don't know, honestly. But they have proof of this. This actually happened. So I don't know why nobody questioned them about their bloody happenings. I don't know what that was
What
about.
a way to go, though. You know. You
Yeah.
know what? We're either gonna go to jail or die. Let's have a drink.
Well, might as well, right? To this day, staff are alarmed to see 2 gentlemen sitting at the bar before the doors are even open. Staff will come in trying to see like who these guys are, what they're doing in there, and these 2 ghoulish men just sipping on whiskey will say "Good morning" before disappearing. Other patrons late at night have claimed to be sitting at the lounge alone, only to hear men talking back and forth to each other, laughing. People have seen bar stools move on their own. They have claimed to have their drinks stolen by ghosts. Even that's messed up. I would punch a ghost.
Don't touch my drink. Yeah.
Yeah, don't touch my drink, ghost.
Funny ghost. Honey. You
Dusty.
think you're funny?
Dusty, do you think you could spend a night at the most haunted hotel in Arizona?
Absolutely. Actually, I think we should.
I'd like to. I'd like to do it too. So we were just talking about this the other day. To spend a night in the Hotel Monte Vista now is only like $100, and their reviews on Facebook aren't too great, unfortunately. However, I do want to mention that if you compare it to like the Hilton Garden Inn, no, it's not going to look like that. When I stayed there, it was more on the rundown side, but it was clean. I mean, we had clean sheets, we had clean flooring, the bathroom was clean. It's just super old. Everything in there is from pretty much when they built it. So I think that's kind of cool.
That you go to it for the historical reasons or for the ghostly reasons. You don't go to it for fancy chocolates on the pillow or what. Do they actually do that places? But anyway.
Yeah, I'm not expecting the Ritz-Carlton, you know what I mean? Like anyway, let's go ahead and go.
Can we have that on a t-shirt? Actually, that would be a great t-shirt.
What, Ritz-Carlton? What? Okay,
no.
Anyway.
We're either gonna go to jail or die. Let's have a drink. And then
yes, I'm with it.
Ghosts of Monte Vista.
I'm for it. Our third story of the night, we're going to bring on our very special guest to tell you about it. Drum roll, please. It's...
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Jim!
It's Jim again, as usual.
Oh.
I'll see how many people I can scare off tonight. We're going to talk about our local story, and it's a pretty good one right on our bayfront. Let me bring up a photo real quick. We're going to talk about the one and only Casa La Paz. Cool looking place, right?
Yeah.
Been abandoned since Hurricane Matthew. The neat part about Casa La Paz, though, isn't just its location. It's the stories that people talk about while they're there. You see, when you stay at Casa La Paz, that house was built way back in 1915 by J. Duncan Fuller, who was a prominent banker and a member of the upper echelon of St. Augustine Society. And during the grandeur of the Flagler era, right after Henry himself had died, it was not uncommon to build very opulent homes. After all, it was the Riviera of the South, and the Fuller's residence did not disappoint St. Augustine's sophisticated society with its arched doorways, windows, and mirrored fireplaces, leaded glass bookcases, and a red-tiled roof. Hand-carved moldings. Over the years, depending on who the owners were, the property served as a private home, a kindergarten, a restaurant, even residential apartments. But in 1968, after extended renovations, it was converted to a charming bed and breakfast. We were informed that when the Pullers owned the house, a young honeymooning couple had actually stayed there. I'm sure that they found the accommodations perfect. And while they're there, I imagine maybe on their honeymoon or while they're still newlyweds, the young man decides he's going to go fishing because we had some of the greatest fishing in the world right then. It was the beginnings of the deep sea fishing industry. I've had friends tell me about marlin that were right in our own inlet. They would see sunning in the summertime, floating near the surface, warming up. Either way, she begged him not to go. She didn't want to be separated from him, but he had to. He could not resist the allure of the sea. And he climbs off in his little boat, and away he goes. That afternoon, a storm come up. The young man was never seen again. We don't know if he drowned, went all the way across the ocean, but he was never found again. The young woman stayed there in grief for years afterwards, just hanging out. Didn't know what to do, didn't know which way to go. Finally, she died of a broken heart just a few years later. But it says that her spirit never left the Casa de la Paz. That when it was converted to apartments, it was reported the occupants from time to time heard knocking on their doors and a voice murmuring, "Is it time to leave yet?" There have been other sightings, such as a young woman walking down the hallway or at the top of the stairs with her bag packed, ready to go. Many people that wrote this own story never did see the ghost, but they did have enough nerve to come and join a ghostly encounter on one of our ghost tours and had a great time at that as well. We love bringing the local stories every week. We love doing our ghost tours live and in person. Both myself, Renee, and Dusty, we're all experienced at this, and we love entertaining you and having you with us.
Yes.
Anything, ladies?
I think that if I saw anybody that looked, like, it sounds bad. How am I going to say this? If I saw anybody that looked like even just like a reenactor, I would probably like die. If you told me a place was haunted, I would probably like. I always go into places being skeptical, right? Because I like to think logical before I think ghosts. Even though I believe in ghosts fully. I've had ghostly experiences. You know what I'm saying? Paranormal experiences. Ghostly encounters, but paranormal experiences in general is what I'm saying. I have just like, I don't know. I just get freaked out when I hear stuff like that. I don't want to know about that. It's so scary. I don't want to like be haunted and be sleeping in a place that's like haunted. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like this page, share this video to your friends, tell them to watch it, force them to watch it. You can be our best friends, be our fangirls. We care about you guys so much. Thank you just for watching. You know, it's a lot of fun doing these videos. And if you have any haunted happenings, send them in to us. We'd love to see what you have to say with your personal paranormal experiences. See ya next week on Tuesday at 8 p.m. and goodbye.
Don't forget to tell everybody we're back to doing tours. You can get us on StAugustineGhostTours.net, or you can call us at 904-827-0807. We're doing them every night. Say goodnight, Dusty.
Good night.
Good night, Dusty.